Good evening. This is CTV News for Thursday, January 9th. I'm Byron Scott.
And I'm Danielle Irby. Thanks for joining us. A working mother rushed home this morning after receiving an urgent call that her apartment was on fire. The fire broke out just before 8 at the Pinebrook Apartments in Landover. The blaze started on the top floor of the building, extended to the roof, and spread to a total of 5 apartment units. There were no injuries, and the fire was extinguished. In the aftermath, 14 adults, 2 children, and 6 animals were displaced.
Trying to then start interview me what happened. I said I don't know nothing. Then just coming for my work, my house just catch fire. So up to now they're still doing the investigation, and I lose all my property. But that's okay. I thank God I have my kids. Everything is safe. That's the most important thing.
The American Red Cross is currently assisting the displaced residents. Meanwhile, staff and students were safely evacuated from Duval High School after a report of a fire in a restroom today. There were no reported injuries.
And the battle over impeachment continues as some Democrats in the House and Senate have joined Republicans in recent days in saying it's time for Speaker Nancy Pelosi to send the articles of impeachment to the Senate. One of those is Maryland Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger. Pelosi rebuffed those calls, saying that she will send them, quote, when I'm ready. She also said that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell must lay out the trial rules before she appoints impeachment managers.
Will not let them say, oh, this is just like Clinton's fair is fair. It's not. Documentation, witnesses, facts, truth. That's what they're afraid of.
She told us it was urgent. That's why we had to move so quickly. And now she thinks she has the power of the Senate? Again, I wish she would read the Constitution and understand what power she has and what she does not have.
It's the greatest hoax ever perpetrated on the United States government. This has gone on since the day I came down the escalator. This isn't just here. This isn't just the Ukraine hoax. This is the witch hunt. This is the whole thing with Russia that turned out to be a total fabricated plot. The ones who are guilty are the Democrats, the DNC, and all of the dirty cops that were involved.
Republican Congressman Bradley Byrne of Alabama has introduced a resolution to censure Pelosi for abuse of power for not sending the articles of impeachment to the Senate. The resolution stands little chance of being taken up in the Democratic-controlled House.
Governor Larry Hogan has announced that he intends to sue the EPA and Pennsylvania over the Chesapeake Bay cleanup plan. Today, he directed the state's attorney general to pursue legal actions in an effort to protect the bay restoration efforts. The governor says he's waited for Pennsylvania to cooperate, but the state hasn't taken responsibility for sediment and debris that flow from the upstream state into the Chesapeake via the Susquehanna River.
But we're at the point where I've asked the Attorney General to take those actions, and so it's really one action against Pennsylvania, and he can answer some of the details of the legal case that he's going to have to look into and research. But one would be against Pennsylvania for the polluting of the Chesapeake Bay, and one would be against the EPA for failure to enforce the federal law.
And Hogan's office says the governor has alarming concerns about Pennsylvania's lack of progress on water goals that were submitted last August. And he's calling on the EPA to use its robust oversight powers to hold watershed states accountable.
Maryland House Speaker Adrian Jones says lawmakers are planning to introduce a bill aimed at a legislative solution to a 13-year-old lawsuit. The suit, which seeks equitable funding for the state's 4 HCBUs, was filed in 2006. The Legislative Black Caucus is seeking $577 million on a funding commitment from the state. The governor has offered $200 million to be divided among the 4 schools, but some lawmakers say that is not enough.
But I am continuously fighting for our HBCUs to be settled in a way that makes sense. So that is a huge contention for us.
The 4 schools are Morgan, Coppin, Bowie, and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore.
The chief tobacco regulator in Maryland puts e-cigarettes front and center in Annapolis this afternoon. Comptroller Peter Franchot hosted his second task force meeting on electronic smoking devices. The body met with state lawmakers and officials from the Food and Drug Administration. Recently, the FDA announced it will step up enforcement of a federal policy banning the sale of unauthorized flavored e-cigarettes that appeal to children.
The real problem is the highly addictive nature of nicotine and the fact that kids are not using it as it's advertised, which is to get off of smoking. For them, it's a gateway to smoking. And so we'll figure it out, make the recommendations. If the legislature could look at them, that would be great.
State Senator Ben Cramer, who was also at the meeting, says he plans to propose legislation that would prohibit the sale of any flavored e-cigarettes in the state, and that's including menthol.
In 2017, lawmakers in Annapolis passed legislation blocking the destruction of most rape kits. Now comes word from the Attorney General of Maryland that police agencies across the state have destroyed 270 kits since the law went into effect. The Harford County Sheriff's Office destroyed 86 kits over the past 2 years. Frederick Police destroyed 84, and the Frederick County Sheriff's Office got rid of 26 kits. A spokesperson for Harford County said they are following the law. Legislators have dedicated more than $3 million in funding to help jurisdictions process thousands of rape kits that sat for years untested. And the man wanted for fatally stabbing his wife is in custody. 41-year-old James Dorsey turning himself in to the Department of Corrections yesterday. Dorsey is charged with killing 41-year-old Nika Dorsey of Greenbelt. She was found on January 2nd in a car on the 8400 block of Greenbelt Road in Greenbelt and pronounced dead on the scene. Dorsey is being held on a no bond status.